Dumbarton Oaks, the autumn of 1944. Representatives of four allied powers are greeted by the Assistant Secretary of State, Edward R. Stettinius, head of the United States delegation. These conversations arising out of the Declaration of Moscow seek to explore the groundwork of a general international organization. They are opened by the American Secretary of State, Cordell Hull.
The lessons of earlier disunity and weakness should be indelibly stamped upon the minds and hearts of this generation and of generations to come. So should the lessons of unity and the resultant strength achieved by the United Nations in this war.
He is seconded by Sir Alexander Cadogan, leader of the United Kingdom delegation.
Individual nations, small and great, must be the basis of our new world organization. And our problem is to construct a machine which will give to each of them the responsibilities commensurate with its power.
His Excellency Ambassador Andrei Gromyko, leader of the Soviet delegation, also stresses the need for the continued unity on the basis of sovereign equality of all freedom-loving nations, in peace as in war. V.K. Wellington Koo, Chinese ambassador to Great Britain, reminds the delegates that his country, the first victim of the present world catastrophe, has never lost faith in the power of cooperation to bring about world security. The conversations at Dumbarton Oaks, which began on August 21st, 1944, were completed on October 7th. The proposals agreed upon were submitted to the four participating governments, to all the United Nations, and to the peoples of the world for study and discussion. In February, at the Crimea Conference, there was further clarification, and a call was sent out for a meeting of all the United Nations to be held on April 25th, 1945 at San Francisco to consider the proposed organization. The proposed United Nations organization is composed of four main bodies. First, a General Assembly, the central organ on which every member nation is represented. Second, a Security Council of 11, 5 permanent members, the United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, China, and France, and 6 non-permanent members elected by the General Assembly for 2-year overlapping terms, each member to have 1 vote and a majority of 7 required for all decisions. An International Court of Justice, the principal judicial organ. Its statute would be that of the present Permanent Court of International Justice with modifications, or a new one based upon it. It would render legal advice to the Security Council. Lastly, the Secretariat, headed by a Secretary General, elected by the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. The Secretary General would act as the chief administrative officer for all parts of the organization. These 4 form the nucleus of the organization. Several subsidiary and related bodies are also suggested. An Economic and Social Council of 18 members elected by the Assembly for 3-year terms. Assisting the Council would be commissions of experts in economic affairs, social, and other related fields. In addition, numerous specialized international agencies already existing or to be created would be brought into relationship with the organization through special agreements with this council. The International Labor Organization, the proposed United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, the proposed International Monetary Fund, the proposed International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, other economic agencies now under discussion in the fields of aviation, communications, and foreign trade, and other proposed social agencies in the fields of health, education, and cultural relations. The Security Council has under it a military staff committee representing the chiefs of staff of the 5 permanent members of the Council. The committee would advise and assist the Council on matters relating to its military requirements and the regulation of armaments. It would, under the Security Council, direct the strategic disposition of the national contingents of armed forces. These forces to be made available by special agreements between the member nations and the Council. Regional security agencies or arrangements would not be precluded, provided they are consistent with the purposes and principles of the organization. Such is the structure proposed for the general international organization. How would its various parts perform their functions? The primary purpose of this organization is the building of the positive conditions for permanent peace. It will be the responsibility of all the United Nations as members of the General Assembly to plan and execute long-range programs for international stability, economic well-being, and social cooperation. The Assembly, having formulated general policies, instructs the Economic and Social Council, which is its general staff, to implement them. This council, in turn, or on its own initiative, may request studies and information from its commissions of expert advisors and from the various specialized international agencies already existing or to be created. The Council also coordinates the activities of these agencies through consultations and recommendations for concerted and effective action. And through these agencies, the policies and activities of their respective member nations are also coordinated. Information from all these sources is integrated by the Council into studies and recommendations and forwarded to the General Assembly. The Assembly should also be able to make recommendations directly to the specialized agencies for the coordination of their activities. Finally, both the Assembly and the Economic and Social Council should be able to recommend directly to the nations of the world solutions of international economic, social, and humanitarian problems. Thus, the proposed organization would function to achieve its long-range purpose, the positive development of economic and social stability, ultimately leading to permanent peace. But another and more immediate purpose of the organization is the peaceful settlement of international disputes. When disputes arise between nations, all members of the organization would be obligated to refrain from the use of force and to seek a direct settlement among themselves through peaceful means by negotiation, mediation, conciliation, or arbitration. If, however, direct settlement fails, the dispute may be referred to the organization through several channels for peaceful settlement. If the dispute is justiciable, it should be referred to the International Court of Justice for judgment. Disputes of a local or regional nature may be referred to regional security arrangements or agencies. These could, either by themselves or with the assistance of the Security Council, recommend solutions. Thirdly, the disputing nations may refer the problem to the General Assembly, which can recommend the settlement directly to the disputing parties. Or, either before or after discussion, pass the case on to the Security Council. The Secretary General, too, may bring to the attention of the Security Council any matter likely to threaten international peace. Also, any nation, whether a member of the organization or not, may bring a dispute to the attention of the General Assembly or the Security Council. And the disputing nations may themselves take the dispute directly to the Council. The Security Council bears the primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. It should, therefore, have the power to investigate, at any time, any situation likely to lead to international friction, and if, in its opinion, the peace is threatened, to assume direct jurisdiction over it. Such decisions must be concurred in by the permanent members, provided that parties to the dispute abstain from voting. In non-justiciable disputes, the Council would request legal advice from the International Court. The Council, having considered disputes coming to its attention in these various ways, may either refer them to the General Assembly for discussion and recommendations of settlement, or it may recommend methods and procedures of settlement directly to the disputing nations. If, however, peaceful settlement of disputes has failed, or if at any time the Security Council, with all permanent members concurring, determines that an immediate threat to world peace exists, it would have the power to take measures, non-military or armed, necessary to maintain or restore peace, calling upon all or any of the members of the organization to assist in enforcement. For non-military enforcement measures, the Security Council could call upon the Economic and Social Council and the participating specialized international agencies for information regarding existing economic and social conditions and the most effective enforcement procedures. It would inform the General Assembly of the action to be taken and obtain its assistance in carrying them out. The Council would call upon all members of the organization to apply the measures decided upon. These might include the severance of economic and diplomatic relations, or the partial or complete interruption of communications, whether rail, sea, air, postal, telegraphic, radio, or other means. Should the Council find such non-military measures inadequate, an actual act of aggression being threatened, it would be empowered to take armed action. The Military Staff Committee would advise on the most effective military measures. Again, the Council would advise the General Assembly and request its assistance. The national contingents of land, naval, and air forces, under the strategic direction of the Military Staff Committee, would conduct demonstrations, blockades, or other military operations. Such are the proposed organs, functions, and responsibilities of the United Nations organization. Its purposes: to build a peaceful world of economic and social stability and cooperation, to prevent threats to the peace by the peaceful settlement of international disputes, to maintain international security by the suppression of acts of aggression. In the words of Sir Alexander Cadogan, let us go forward with a full sense of our responsibilities, not only to our own nations, but to the world at large. Let us go forward above all with the determination to produce a scheme worthy of the men and women of the United Nations, who are giving their all to make possible the construction of a better world.